Welcome back to the Jigsaw Blogs audio commentary tracks. I'm Jacob Walton, and today we're going to look at episode 9 of the Jigsaw Blogs, Jigsaw Survivors. This is probably one of the more popular episodes of our season because of two reasons, I believe. One is because we actually got to dive into all the Jigsaw survivors, because one of the selling points of our series was answering the questions that Saw fans have. And what bigger question do Saw fans have than the fate of certain characters? And the main characters people cared about are the Jigsaw survivors, like what happened to them in each movie. Characters such as, what happened to Dr. Gordon's family, what happened to Daniel Matthews, what happened to all the characters from Saw 6, what happened to characters from Saw 3D, and so on and so forth. So to be able to do that and to be able to answer audience questions over these characters that everybody's known to love and grow and fond of over the years was a really rewarding experience. And so it's one of those cool things where if, say, hey, I was in charge of the Saw franchise, what were the fates of these characters? If you were given a choice to what happened to them, how would you answer what would happen to each character and their fate? And this is just a way, like, say, how I would answer it and stuff like that to these characters. Again, you could use it for canon purposes, but at the end of the day, this is a Saw fan film series, so this is kind of what I would decide to do, what happened with these characters, and continue with the storylines that they left from the films and go forward with the story that we're telling in this series. And another popular reason why I believe this episode was so popular is because we actually get to feature one of the upcoming actors in horror films that you've been seeing lately, Francesco DePinto. You may recognize him from the Clown Cafe scene in Terrifier 2. He does a really good job in that scene right there, as well as his directorial debut in the Pretty Face movies, which you can find on Tubi. So link in the description right there to go check them out. And again, go support Francesco right there. He does a really good job and just a great guy in general. So Francesco, if you're watching this, thank you again so much. I appreciate all the work you've done for our series and the promotions, and I can't wait to work with you again soon. So having said all that, let's look into episode 9, The Jigsaw Survivors. Alright, so a couple months have passed. I think 2 months have passed since the last episode, episode 8. This book. So actually this is one of my wife's books, and what I did was I took the picture of the Bobby Dagan book and I actually slid it into the covers and typed it in. And really this is just the last page of the book, and I just ad-libbed it. And basically what I did is I took like a sticky note and I put it inside the book and just read off the acronym SURVIVE. And so it's actually a really cool opening, I think. Just Jacob's reading the book right there. Even though he disses the Bobby Dagan character, it's a little wink to the audience. Hey, even though he wrote a book right here, which I said was a complete work of fiction, but and I rag on the Bobby Dagan character, but at the same time, it's really cool just to acknowledge that and stuff like that. Plus, I still love Sean Patrick Flanery. He's still awesome. Missouri State, yeah. If it goes to show that I'd wear Missouri stuff, I hear from Missouri, but even though, I guess in Canada, where would the Saw, what state it would be in? Would it be in New York or New Jersey? I don't know. It's just one of those deals where, should I wear that? But sure, it's fine for the character. But, yeah, sticky notes. Kind of tells what happened to each person. Alive, Corporate Dental alive. Moved to Cleveland, yeah. It's a reference to the Dark Knight Rises, by the way. and Jigsaw. Because they say, would you want to move to Cleveland? Apologize to those watching the show in Cleveland. We love you. But, yeah, Jigsaw Survivors, little acronym, Bobby Dagan book right there. Yeah, this is the Billy Puppet from Saw 1 Survivor Group, Simone Howard, yeah. Tanisha Howard, I just give her last name. I guess there's a lot of characters we touch upon right there. Amanda, even though she's a survivor, yeah, first known survivor. Yeah, little fade out right there. I like the little music right there on top of that. Yeah, it makes sense we start with Amanda Young because, I guess in canon she is the first Jigsaw survivor. Technically, I guess. I guess Logan wouldn't technically be a survivor. He would be a survivor, but he didn't go through his tests properly. And I guess same thing, Hoffman, he got tested, but he's just, I don't know. You can debate on the comments section below if you think Amanda is technically the first survivor of a trap. I think she is. I'll go with it. And that's kind of what I'm sticking with right here. The Gordon family. A lot of people ask, Dr. Gordon, what happened to Dr. Gordon? Because, again, in the show, Jacob does not know that Dr. Gordon is an accomplice to Jigsaw. He does not know that because it was not made public yet. Now, I know I'm not even talking about what's going on right now because right now it's December of 2026 as when I'm filming this. Saw was recently sold to Blumhouse, and there's talks of them rebooting the franchise. That's a subject for another day, but if they choose, because originally the rumors at the time was they were going to go back and do a Saw 11 sequel to Saw X, and maybe Saw 12 would be taking place. The rumor was taking place after the events of Saw 3D and answering the Mark Hoffman saga, which would have brought back Dr. Gordon. So, in storyline, I have Dr. Gordon right now. He's alive and he still works at the hospital, but I have Allison Gordon and Diana separate from Lawrence. So they moved to Cleveland. I have like Diana going right there. That's Mackenzie Vega all grown up. Man, from 2004 to right now, I had to go find. I don't think she's acting anymore, but I went ahead and looked up what pictures of Monica Potter from 2020 to Mackenzie Vega 2020 of the actors, and just put screenshots of them to that day and stuff like that. So I have her playing softball because being an athlete from Cleveland, so that's what she's doing right now. I put Obie Tate and Jeff Reinhardt down because they were in the Whitehurst Insane Asylum right there. This is actually a photo from a deleted scene from Saw 3D, all the Jigsaw survivors there. The third Myers, it's the third time I used the word Myers in this series, victims and stuff like that. I don't know why. Again, shout out to my buddy Josh. Yep, that's a guy from Jessica Jones. Yep, Griff Garrison, that's a wrestler. Yep. Jennings Foster from the Saw video game. Yep. Joan Feeler from Saw 3D. Yep. They were all mentioned from the Asylum. So those people you saw in Saw 3D, those extra Jigsaw survivors that you saw right there, those are the people that from the video games of the Holmes Hotel, the ones that actually live. I know Anton was one of the characters survived from Saw 2 video game and stuff like that. And I try to incorporate them into the scene. So when you see those people that I flashback earlier, they survived from the Saw video game. That's how I go over there. Brad Ryan go missing. Now, I have a plan for this, and you're going to have to stay tuned for the later episodes, maybe in Season 2, because I have Brad Ryan go missing. Even though they were the two people that helped Dr. Gordon capture Mark Hoffman at the end of Saw 3D, I have them go missing. And there'll be a reason why if I choose to go in the direction I want to go in Season 2. So I'm going to not answer that now, but in storyline, Brad and Ryan are missing. And we just completely missed over Daniel Matthews, one of the most popular Jigsaw survivors out there. Basically, I had Daniel become a public defender, and I think it just felt right for the character because he's rebelling against his dad and stuff at the time. And the actor did go on TV shows and worked and stuff like that, so I just pictures from him as a TV show as a public defender, just something opposite of what his dad would do. I actually got the idea from my wife because I asked, what would he do? Be doing now? I was like, I could see him being a public defender, doing something opposite of what his dad was doing as a cop. So, yeah, that's what we do with Eric Matthews. Corbin Dinlin, yep. I need Wilson, yeah. I decided to use young pictures of her. I thought about using Cassandra's pictures with her because I didn't want to give away that we cast Cassandra as Corbin Dinlin. So I went ahead and kept young pictures of young, 10, 11, 12-year-old Neve Wilson right there who played Corbin Dinlin in the Saw 3 through 6. Malik Scott, yep. Saw 5, he survived, yep. Recovering drug addict. So some people got happy endings. Morgan Tillman, yeah, still works at the bank or had her do. Brett Stevenson, I actually had her character go to jail. It just made sense for her to go to jail because once she confesses to everything she did, and she set in motion to the events of Saw 5, and with all the evidence Hoffman had and stuff like that, of course she would go to jail. Even though she survived and did the trap like that, she did set the factory that killed a bunch of people in Saw 5. So yeah, she would be in jail. She would completely be in jail right now. Addie, we killed Addie off because, at the time she was sick and stuff like that, and then 10 years have passed, it just made sense to kill her off. These two from the Carousel, Emily Goins from the Carousel, yeah, she would. Shelby, yep, also from the Carousel. Some of these actors are still acting, which is awesome to see. Every time we go back and see all these characters that they franchise ever were to bring them back, they do. Tara Abbott, yeah, she was in Saw 6. Yeah. Yeah, working as a bank manager, yeah. Brent Abbott. Yep. Roderick from Roderick Rules and stuff like that. Yep. That was a nice little tribute to Josiah Black, right? The actor who passed away, who played in the 2017 Jigsaw film. Yeah, it was tragic right there, but it's actually one of the cool things we did, actually. If you ever get a chance to go back to our channel, watch the Josiah Black charity stream. We actually talked to Paul Black and Josh Stolberg and tried to raise money for Josiah Black and his family at the time. And it was just really, they're just good people. Like, the whole entire family is just good people. I can't give them a shout out and stuff like that if they're watching, listening right there. Just good family, and I wish them all the best. And every year I always send them like a message just during Christmas time, just wish them all well and stuff like that. So just good people. Simone Howard, Teacher Howard, yes. So I'll talk about her. I actually thought about reaching out to her and actually being a part of the series. And I'll go into reasons why it didn't happen, but we were actually close. I actually talked to Teacher Howard online, and she was very supportive. She was very nice, and she actually kind of laughed at the idea that, she would sue a lot of money. Her character would sue money and like take all the money from Jigsaw Survivors and geared towards her in a lawsuit and cause John Kramer's companies to go out of business. So she ended up suing the company Gideon and taking all the money for herself and stuff like that, which, a character obviously wouldn't do because you got kidnapped and had to force to take your arm cut off and stuff like that. But yeah, we were close to getting Tanisha Howard on the show, but then I find out at the time, once you're a member of SAG, they have to say no, which I totally get because, we're not SAG, we're not union and stuff like that. And everybody sure knows like the whole thing where you try to get people involved, but realize once they're part of SAG and stuff like that, unfortunately they can't participate. Or if you do, you got to meet like union bylines and payments and all the hoops you got to go through and stuff like that. And me on a school teacher salary, it just wasn't going to work, unfortunately. But she was very nice, and she appreciated all we were doing. So, but again, teenager, if you end up watching this, thank you so much for the shout out and love online, and we appreciate you so much. So, Francesco. How did we meet him? Actually, it's through Bryn. I get a chance to talk to Bryn in the last episode, but how we got him, because at the time, Brandon and I finished our first episode, we were getting ideas, and I was asking her, hey, is there a way for me to continue the story that we were going to tell? Because when Brandon and I first spoke, because I wanted to bring her in, I wanted to bring in more characters, I thought, with each episode, we need to bring in a different character, because not only are we answering questions from the Saw fans and that lore, but we're also building our world and our characters for the story we're going to tell with our universe. So we got in by Brandon, who played Violet Anderson, and I asked her, could you think of anybody else? Because I was thinking of different characters, and I had lots of people for these roles. Originally, I can talk about this now. I tried to get Tom Chattelbash from the YouTube channel, like Chattelbash Reviews, to play this role, and Tom was very nice. Just unfortunately, he was unavailable at the time, and so I was asking Bryn, hey, is there anybody that you could think of? And she goes, well, I went to school with this one guy, and Francesco, and he's got a lot going on. I can't tell you which movie he's working on right now. And literally I find out that he was working on Terrifier 2, which, if you've seen the Terrifier films, they are a huge, huge cult following. They're awesome, and I'm happy for everybody. But yeah, he ended up landing a role apart in the Clown Cafe. He's actually the guy on the swing set that gets mowed down by Art the Clown with the machine gun during that dream sequence. Spoiler alert to those who haven't seen Terrifier 2. But when I found out he was working on that, I was like, oh, it's so cool. And then he directed, a Halloween fan film, which you go check out. It's actually pretty well done. But also, he directed a film called Pretty Face, which is on Tubi. And if you get a chance to check that film out, it's actually a really spoof film. It's a spoof of the Halloween film, stuff like that, for little culture and stuff like that. So it's another well-made film, and I hope he gets the opportunity to make it to a feature-length film one day. So, but yeah, so Brent talked to him. He was all on board with. He liked the idea of being an author and stuff like that, and because he's really big into horror acting. And this is the time when I think we shot this in November or December. We shot this of 2020, and yeah, it's one of those deals where I had Bryn sit on the Zoom call with me. So Bryn and I were on Zoom, and we were coaching him through this acting scene. So what I would do is I would ask the questions from thing, and then Bryn would go on because she got to work with him and kind of coach him along. And I really loved his delivery because he did a good job, playing someone that would be like an author and going that. And it's actually Tim Blake. His character Tim Blake is from Saw 4. If you go to the scene in Saw 4 where Riggs watching Betsy Russell's character Jill in the tapes, you actually look at the book, and one of the books it says Tim Blake, Jigsaw is the murder the police says he is, and in the book it says his, not is. They messed up in the continuity department in Saw 4. But that character, the person who broke the book is Tim Blake, and I thought, well, let's get somebody from the Saw world and let's bring him in. So I saw the name Tim Blake, and that's the character that Francesco plays in the show. And so, yeah, that was actually a really cool way to introduce his character, bring that in. And so, basically, he's an author, but he's kind of like a Jigsaw expert, where, he's done all his research, he's done thesis statements on that, and he takes the time to, write about Jigsaw victims and write about stuff, and he just got a new book out, which just makes sense. So when Jacob calls him and asks him, hey, I'm doing a little blog series on the Jigsaw Killer, is there a way for me to talk about this? And so, yeah, that's what Jacob would edit this. We talk about little things right there, like, picture of John Kramer right beside him. And then I'll actually let Francesco tell a story because, he was familiar with the Saw franchise. I don't think he watched them all, but he was very familiar with the Jigsaw character. And what I told him to do was, say, here are your bullet points and stuff like that. So I'm not going to make you memorize, every line word for word, because I don't think any actors will tell you they don't appreciate it. Sometimes they just want to have some creative liberties. So I told him, hey, I'll let you just be yourself in a way, Francesco, but sell this to me as I'm directing him. I'm like, talk about, say, you're an author and, say, you're an expert in this subject, and even if you don't know what you're talking about as far as everything goes, just keep it general. Just keep it, how you would sell, you're selling a book. You're conveying information, stuff like that. As long as you sound like you know what you're talking about, then it should be fine. And then, to his credit, he does a really good job, and it just sounds more authentic, like his performance here. And I know he's just sitting in front of the camera and talking like that, but I love just little facial expressions you see, those little turns and head tilts, stuff like that, because, he's a guy that's still trying to, educate the audience. It's no different, say, if you were going television, say, if you go on CNN and you bring in your opinion points, stuff like that. And that's kind of what I was going through here with this interview right here. So, again, this was a setup because this is Jacob's, first interview officially, and which would give Jacob experience and enough to go ahead and interview Corbin Dillon in episode 12. And so we kind of planted the seeds of bringing in Corbin Dillon because she's mentioned in episode 2 later and going on for that. And one of the cool things we talk about all these Jigsaw survivors here is, there was a line coming up towards the end of the episode where Tim Blake talks about, how children impact how children impact the flaws being around Jigsaw character and stuff like that, and how the events of Jigsaw killings affect them. Sorry, I'm rambling a little too much right there. But, yeah, that's kind of what I was going for, and that's what I was trying to do with this character and how we integrated Corbin Dillon into the series. Yeah, we're talking about Daniel Matthews right here. And yeah, that's a shot from the actor from the TV series and his public defender. And I actually really like the idea of answering these questions about Jigsaw survivors because, again, some people, when you play Jigsaw's game and stuff like that, his goal was to, appreciate your life. And if you survive Jigsaw's methods, he'll make you appreciate your life and change for the better. But as you saw right here, like you say in Saw 6, some characters are not going to learn the way Jigsaw intended. And I really like that in Saw 6. With the Simone character, how she didn't learn her lesson, even though she survived her tests, she didn't completely learn. But then we see characters such as, Dr. Gordon and Malik Scott and all the characters from the Saw 6 carousel, how their experiences changed better because of traumatic. And this is really good from a psychological perspective because I try to incorporate some psychology terms with this, and because he's a psychology major writing a book, and that's what we talk about. Yeah, because people would react to trauma differently. Not everybody will react to trauma the way John Kramer would, because if people not everybody could be like John Kramer, because that's what Tim Blake talks about in the episode right here. There's only one Jigsaw. Like, there's only one person. There's only one you. There's only one you, me. And we all respond to trauma in our own way. Some people choose to grieve. Some people choose to fight through. Some people try to brush it off, ignore it. Some people try to change for the better and learn from it. Everybody is different. And that was what I was trying to convince right here with the episode, because this is the way of the character telling the audience, everybody's different. Everybody's going to react to trauma in their own ways. Not everybody's going to react to trauma and tragedy the way that John Kramer reacted, because you saw, like, John Kramer just had one bad day. When he had that one bad day, he lost his son and stuff like that, and then he got cancer, and it just led to things going spiral, and it got to the point where he decided to end his life. But when he ended his life, he found out that he survived, and all of a sudden, it's just a switch after the vehicle, where everything that John Kramer, the character, was going through at the time, he decided that moment that he was going to become the Jigsaw killer and start testing people, and he wants people to see things through his way. Yeah, and even the children right here, as a little McCain's video from Dr. Gordon's daughter right here. And I liked how the wheels turn in Jacob's head, how we see Jacob go ahead. Yeah, he's thinking about Corbett right now, and that's kind of what I was going for. And so this episode, this was an episode, good way to build up to episode 12, because episodes 2 through 11 was all building up to episode 12 in that interview with Corbett Dinlin. And I knew I had something once we got there, so it's just part of the way. And again, I love that message where, he's trying to convince Jacob, don't go through the method right there of understand John Kramer's methods. Does Jacob really understand it? We'll have to wait and see it as we get to the end of the season. So, yep, Jacob's like those little eye rolls I do right there. So, yeah. Yeah, a little plug for a fake book that never come out, but yeah, that's pretty much episode 9. So, guys, thank you again so much. Please follow us on our Patreon page at patreon.com/jigsawblogs for early access to all these commentary tracks if you haven't already. And we'll see you back in episode 10. Take care, guys. And I guess Lady the Pup. Say hi, Lady. Love you. Take care, guys.